Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next episode of Gab with Garima. It's been about a month. We're doing these monthly now, so I know it's a little bit different for all of us. But I am really excited about today's topic. It's embrace the suck. So, when we talk about embracing the suck as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, there's a lot of things that suck. There's a lot of things that number one that we have done wrong that have brought us to where we are today. There's a lot of times that you just have to get through the hardships to get to the other end. You know, you talk about those peaks and valleys and where they are and how to kind of move through those. And often, you know, you look at those hard times and you say, God, that was horrible. Why did we have to do that? Why am I here? What happened? As opposed to just embracing it. Understanding where you are in the life cycle of your business, understanding where you are in the life cycle of your career or anything else, and just embracing that suck because it is going to suck. Growth sucks. Getting better sucks. All of that sucks because there's a level of discomfort and uncertainty that has to happen anytime that there's going to be growth. You can't grow unless you're totally uncomfortable at all times. So that is why there's so much suck in growth. And so learning to embrace that. And so today I'm going to talk about scaling and scaling a business and some of the pitfalls that we've faced going from 0 to 25 or 30 employees and what some of those pitfalls are and how it felt during that period and how we're able to look back now and make certain changes and really embrace that. Although we are still growing, and there will, I'm sure, be absolutely new challenges that we face on a daily basis that we'll have to start incorporating as well. But I'm just going to share a few for now. So, the first story I want to share with you is I opened my first business. My first failed business was when I was like 9 or 10 years old. I decided that it was a really good idea to make holiday cards and sell them door to door to all of my neighbors. And I don't even know why my parents would ever allow me to go so like three streets down to another block. I can't imagine allowing my 10-year-old to do that. Um, so I decided that I should do this. I'd sell them for 10 cents, 20 cents, whatever it was. And my cards kept getting sold out, right? I mean, they're so pretty, right? But they kept getting sold out. So I thought, well, I should scale this. I should get all the neighborhood's kids to come and help me make these Christmas cards and sell all these holiday cards. And we'd make so much more money and we'll have so much more fun. And so I did. I brought some of my friends over and I said, okay, now we're going to make these cards. And what I found was that scaling was hard, right? Because everybody cut the cards a little bit different. Some people didn't know how to use glitter. So there was too much glue and it was too sticky. And some people couldn't sell and some people didn't want to do it and someone didn't show up. And even at 9 or 10 years old, I was like, man, this is hard. It was easier to do it myself. So I'm just going to keep doing it myself. And eventually ended up not selling holiday cards anymore. But thinking about that example and thinking about scaling and the difficulties in scaling, you can see at such a young age. And Liz, I love your comment about vulnerability. It's the only place where we can grow. Absolutely. It does mean we can get hurt. And that's why I think as a business owner, and Liz, I know that you feel this on a day-to-day basis, um, you are putting yourself out there every day and you can get hurt. And that's why it hurts so much. There's so much passion, but that's how you're growing, right? That's how you're getting the next level. So why is scaling so hard? What makes scaling up a business so hard? The first thing that makes scaling so hard is the cost. And actually, it's funny that Liz commented because Liz has an amazing recruiting company. But let's talk about the cost. Um, I just want to make sure we get to the next slide. Hold on. Sorry, guys. So the cost of scaling up is actually a lot. It is really, really expensive for a startup. It can cost almost for $25,000 to scale from one employee to multiple. I mean, that's how much it costs just to get a single employee through the door. Brandon, I'm not sure if you're hearing me, but can you please get to the next slide if you're not hearing me? All right. All right. So but the cost of scaling, because now you have to put out a job ad or you have to hire a recruiter or you have to um, work and figure out what you need. Then you have to bring the person in. And what if they're the wrong person? What if they don't know how to do the job? What if they come in and 2 months later you have to terminate them? Someone told me a long time ago that a mediocre employee is a lot worse and costs the business way more than a bad employee, because a mediocre employee you end up keeping for a long period of time, and a bad employee ends up just, you get rid of them a lot faster, so it costs the organization less. But if you think about the time of finding that person, putting the ad out, putting the rec out, finding the people, the interviews, training them, moving them from one position to the other, making sure that they're acclimated, all of those things, it's expensive. There's a really high cost for a small business to scale up. So that cost, according to most business journals, is around $25,000 for a small business to kind of go from one to more than one employee. The next thing is scalability. So scalability is also adds to, I'm sorry, complexity is really, really a big deal too, because when you think about the number of people in an organization, you think about having two people, you think about two people who started a business, and you're saying, okay, well, uh, the two of us can have a conversation, and we can talk, and we know exactly what we're supposed to do and how to do it. When you start adding people, all of a sudden the lines of communication are totally different. There's a graphic that if we get our slides back, we can share. But if you have three people, you have three lines of communication. If you have four people, there's all of a sudden six lines of communication. Five people, 10 lines. By the time you get to 14 people in an organization, you have 91 lines of communication. 91 lines. That's crazy. That is an insane amount of communication lines that have to be open. That's a lot of people that have to be on the same page. And that's only 14 people. Imagine having a company with 20, 30, 50, 100. It's really complicated to scale. And when you do that, you have to have the right metrics, the right, what is the mission? What is the vision? What are we doing? How are we getting there? What is the process? All of those things need to be in place prior to scaling. And I know that that's one of the things that we've done, is maybe scaled sometimes a little too fast and not ensured that we had the entire platform or procedures put in place prior to that. So outside of why this is difficult, let's talk about some of the pitfalls that we've made. So, pitfall number one, the trouble with titles. So, when you think about a startup and you think about titles, the titles are everywhere. You look at a big bank and you have titles that are specific, and you've got your managers and your directors and your AVPs and your VPs and your SVPs, and it kind of is all this linear hierarchical pattern, and it makes sense. In a startup, it doesn't exist. And you're like, I need you and you should do something awesome. But that also means that when you're looking for people, sometimes I know that we've made this mistake of hiring and getting so blinded by the light of someone's title. Oh my goodness, this person must be amazing, because they used to be a COO at another company, or they used to be a CRO someplace else, and that's exactly what we need. And we kind of stopped the interview there. So at one time, we had hired a COO who we thought would be amazing. He started, and 2 days later came to our holiday party, and we found out that he was using illicit drugs in the bathroom. His interview process was maybe 1 hour long. And the reason why we were so short on the interview and didn't do enough of our diligence was simply because we were so blinded by the light of his title. Like, oh my God, this guy must be amazing because he's been a COO for the past 20 years and he must know exactly what to do. Lo and behold, not only was he not the guy, but obviously we couldn't have what he was doing as part of our culture. So huge pitfall to be looking and hiring people based on title alone, as opposed to based on their credentials and diligence that you may need to find them. Pitfall number two. When we talk about pitfall number two, sometimes you think that, you look up these tennis balls, and, you might be able to fit six tennis balls in a container. Sure, if you cut them all in half, you might be able to fit six tennis balls in a container. But can you play tennis with cut tennis balls? Probably not. So sometimes you go from this, oh my gosh, we don't need this super, super high level title, to, oh, well, for that person, we can hire five people at an entry level. Well, five people at an entry level doesn't necessarily equal two or one that actually knows their job. So figuring out what is the role that you're trying to fill how many people and not going too low. And I know we've done this where we think that, oh, we can just, if we just hire more people at lower compensation plans or with less experience, then we can train them up and we'll have 5 people instead of 1, and all of a sudden we'll get more work done. Like we talked about before, complexity, the amount of complexity that comes in by hiring more people is just not easy. So, definitely 3 does not equal 6, and 6 does not equal 3 ever. Always go for the 3, the full tennis balls, not the half tennis balls. Look for the people who have the skill set that you actually need. Pitfall number 3, squirrel, hiring people. We talked about complexity, scaling up. Oh my gosh, the distraction. We call it squirrels, but the distraction that comes with adding to your team. Everybody comes in with their own ideas, their own baggage, their own experience, everything, which is great. And you want that collaboration. But sometimes it leads to this hugely distracting what happens and why do we do this? And those types of conversations where, excuse you might be reinventing the wheel. And keeping track of what is that mission and vision and where you're really trying to go is what changes this. So knowing who you are as a company and what you really want to do and what you're trying to achieve and what is the problem that you're looking to solve, and always keeping that front and center will change all of this. We have totally done this where we've brought on people or we've scaled up or we've, embraced the suck and we, oh, let's try this. Let's go into this distribution channel. Let's go over here. Let's try this in terms of pricing. And all of those distractions just take away from the business and take away from the vision of what you're trying to do. So making sure that you're kind of singularly focused on the problem that you're solving every single day. Pitfall number 4, not being intentional about culture. So, there's all of this when we think about startups, we think about passion and personality and someone's ability or agility and their authenticity and can they do all these things. But we also think startup culture means kombucha and, foosball tables and beer pong at 4. And it's not about that. Culture, being intentional about culture means that it's clear who you are and what. One of the things that has happened for us here at Biller Genie, one of the sucks that we've had recently is we went from a company where when we opened in January of 2020, it was right before COVID, and we started scaling during COVID. And we were able to hire immense talent totally remotely, and that was great. And we've been able to build a team of incredible people remotely. But what we have not done is brought that back. So we haven't spent enough time with people face to face. The training, the collaboration, what happens when you're sitting in a room with someone, just the learning through osmosis that can occur between sales and support, it hasn't been happening at the level that we need it to. And we haven't been intentional enough about that culture. So now making that front and center and making that our goal for 2023 to be more intentional about who we are and what we do, and making sure that everybody gets a chance to really collaborate with each other and work in a better space, around each other, or bringing people in and flying them in more often and being able to do things like that is about how to be intentional about the culture. Again, sure, have beer pong at 4, that's up to you, but that's not what's going to build your culture. Pitfall number 5. So as a small business owner, um, we always want things to happen right now. You make a change, you make a tweak, you hire someone, you come up with a new pricing model, and you think that tomorrow you will see the revenue. The next day, all of your problems will be solved. We call it a silver bullet, right? Like you expect that silver bullet that's just going to fix everything. It's not. It's a day-to-day grind. There is something every day. We talk about embracing the suck. There is something every day that needs to be worked on. It's a consistent climb up the mountain. And that is so important to understand that there is no instant gratification. There is an emotional roller coaster. There are no silver bullets. There are going to be things that are going to make you extremely vulnerable. There's going to be things that are going to break. There's going to be things that you never thought could happen. And embracing those and knowing that you'll come out of the other end and you'll still be standing, is what kind of gets you through. So not expecting instant gratification has been, or expecting instant gratification has been one of our pitfalls, but learning not to expect that has definitely been helpful. And last but not least, we always have plans. We all, I think, come into a business. You know how you want to scale. You know what your mission is. You know exactly what you're going to solve. There's two of you sitting on a couch and you say, this is how we're going to do, and this is what we're going to do, and it's going to be amazing. We're going to change the world. You can have the best plan in the world until you get punched in the mouth. And as a small business owner, you will get punched in the mouth a lot, a lot. And if you don't learn to embrace that punch and get stronger for it and get bigger for it and all of the things that come along with being punched in the mouth, you probably won't be able to grow at any kind of scale that you'd like to. So go out there, get punched in the mouth, and embrace that suck. Thanks, guys. Have an unbelievable day, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.